I lost an animal today. One of my cats. Younger cat. It wasn't nobody hurt him. It wasn't an accident. It was just he is a late fading cat apparently, and there was something wrong with him, and there just was nothing they could do. This particular animal, I called him Davy. Davy, he was attacked by a dog. The only time he ever got out of this house, and I couldn't find any puncture wounds on him, but ever since that day, I mean, he had blood coming out of his mouth, and he had a horse meow to him. It was this rah rah. But I mean, I remember it happened late in the day, and I didn't have work that night, so I picked him up and I wrapped him in a towel and spent the night wondering if he would be alive by morning, and then he was fine, and everything was normal. And this particular animal really loved being around me. It was his favorite thing to do. He loved to sit in my lap when I was editing my videos. He always wanted to sleep beside me. And then one day he couldn't walk. His back half kind of stopped working. And, he would have days where he could kind of stand on his back legs, but he would kind of just drag himself around. And it was a degenerative nerve condition that does happen to cats. But he was otherwise fine, and he didn't seem to understand that he was disabled. He'd crawl over anything, and, if I did not pick him up soon enough, he would sink his claws right into my leg, and crawl up my leg, and crawl onto my shoulder, and purr for hours on end. Then he became incontinent, and I would have to wrap him with a towel to hold him because he'd poop all over me and he'd pee all over me. And well, I'm a grown man. None of that ever mattered. It's just cats poop on things. It happens. It's never been something that bothered me. But his nervous condition just kept getting worse and worse until he was shaking all the time. And then I noticed he lost muscle mass in his front limbs and got to the point where I was feeding him with a syringe, or at least giving him water with a syringe, and I'd have to put him right onto the food bowl to get him to eat. And, last night before I went to work, I wrapped him up and I put, I actually am taking care of, I think, about 10 kittens right now, so I put all the kittens on top of them, and they all sat there on top of them, but he was cold to the touch. One of the ways you know an animal is going to fade is that it is cold to the touch. They stop producing heat, and, he wasn't doing well anyway. He could hardly speak, and so this morning, I come home from work, and, he's moved. He's not where I left him, which is weird because he's not very good at moving. And then the lights were out, and I turned them on. I found him on the floor by the food bowl, stiff and dead. And I remember the first time I lost a cat. I had had that cat my entire life. She lived to be 25. I was not yet out of high school. And I cried. I cried for days. I cried. I think I wrote poems about it. But the thing about Davy and his litter mates, a lot of them didn't make it. They're faders. They get sick and they die. And I've looked it up and checked it out and done everything I can. And they go, some of them are like that. Is if you are a person that handles cats, particularly kittens, eventually that will happen to you. You will have faders, which are animals that die for no reason. And again, I know from personal experience, they become cold to the touch, they lose weight, they stop wanting to be around other animals normally, which was not a case with Davy, and they die. And something, You also want to get them out of the house fairly quickly because cats are cannibals. And, I mean, there is nothing more gruesome than seeing a cat chew on their own kitten's corpse. It's... Ugh. But I am noticing I am not... I want to. I want to cry about it, but my reflex is not to, and quite frankly, I don't know if I deserve to cry. I don't know if there's any more I could have done for him, but this is part of life. So my question to all of you, as you age, as you get older, as you lose the people who are closest to you, does death get easier to deal with? Because it seems to be getting that way for me, but still, I mean, to make this video, I had to have a drink. You know, I'm not going to lie. It's affecting me. Just, if this were 4 years ago, I'd be bawling my damn eyes out. Anyway, question for all of you. Does death get less painful as you age? I'm Richard.